This never ends well. Okay. No, don't fall. This is a hefty pile. Okay. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Welcome to the first wrap up of the year. No, I did my December wrap up in January, so that was a lie. But welcome to my January wrap up. I read a lot more than I expected this month. I honestly think it's because of my book club. We have been reading together like every day since I started it, and they just motivate me to read more. And this has been so much fun. This is gonna be my January wrap up and my February TBR. I've decided to include them together in one video because making it separate, my TBR is never exactly what I've read. If you watch my December wrap up and January TBR, I can assure you I didn't read all of those. It's always a gamble. It's usually just a February hopeful instead of a TBR because I mood read a lot other than reading books for videos. It's just, it never works out. All right, let me go to my notes. I always write my thoughts down because right after reading a book, out of my head. There's one exception in this month. Some of these are gonna be repetitive if you watched my videos in January because a bunch of these are from reading vlogs, but I did have a good amount of just personal reads. Let's get into it. The first few books are from my reading romance for a week. It literally feels like I did that last year. It feels so long ago, but okay. First book is Part of Your World. I think I gave this 4 out of 5. Basically about this woman, someone in her family passes away and she's driving through this small town to get home. I think either her car breaks down or she hits something, but she's kind of stuck there, and then this guy says he'll help her. She ends up staying in this small town for a little bit. She goes to the bar and then they kind of hit it off. This is an age gap, so he's 10 years younger than her, which was really interesting because usually the guy is the older in the age gap tropes. But she lives like 2 hours away. She goes home. She's a doctor. Her family is like this huge line of incredible doctors. They own their own like hospital, and it's just this huge thing. She has a legacy she needs to live up to, so she doesn't have time for a relationship. They kind of hang out, nothing crazy. They're trying not to make this a big thing. Feelings get caught. He lives in the small town, so you get the small town trope, and she's kind of trying to figure out what she wants to do because she's not happy to be the next up in the legacy. She doesn't want to live up to her family's like expectations of her, basically, which I really enjoyed the beginning of this. I loved the way they met. Their banter in the beginning was so cute. In the middle it fell flat a little bit for me because it was less about the romance and more about her kind of trying to figure out what she wanted to do, which was very valid. It was like a huge part of the story, but I really wanted that romance. Some parts of the romance got a little weird to me. I don't know what it was. I don't really remember the exact scenes, but I mean, it wasn't bad. I gave it 4 out of 5. The ending was so good. I loved the ending. I loved the way she wrapped it all up. I really enjoyed it though. There was just some parts that were like a little iffy to me. Binding 13. This takes place in Ireland, so the two characters that are in school, the two main characters, she in the beginning of this book is 15, he's 17. I don't know, it's like a younger romance, but basically Shannon, growing up in all of her schooling, has been bullied like extremely. She's very petite, which they make you know that. She's tiny, but then her home life is also horrible because her father is very abusive. Her mom doesn't do anything about it. Very graphic. She goes to a new school because the bullying was so bad, and this little situation happens where she meets Johnny, and he kind of like low-key saves her, and then he has this like overwhelming sense to protect her because she's so fragile and she is very shy into herself, and he like has this need to protect her. It's also the tiniest font you will ever see, and Goodreads has a different page count. I don't know why, but this is 577 pages, and I gave this 3 stars. I know it's a fan favorite, but the first like maybe 200 pages was fine. There wasn't much going on. Her and Johnny would like stare at each other and then have feelings for each other, but they wouldn't confront it. They wouldn't talk about it, and that kind of got me a little annoyed because then they would be in the same room, they would talk to each other, but then like 5 words would come out, and then you have to wait another 100 pages for them to like say something to each other. And I don't know, I just got frustrated with it. It just wasn't my favorite. I like the way he protected her. I just think their romance I didn't love. I really felt bad for Shannon. I sympathized with her the whole time. I felt it's horrible to read about. It just wasn't for me. So many people love it though, so you may love it. I just almost 600 pages of like nothing, because by the end of it ends on a cliffhanger. Nothing is concluded. You need to go into the next one if you want to know what happens next. It wasn't for me. I am gonna bring up Keeping 13. I actually DNF'd it this month. I got pretty far into it as well. Again, Goodreads says it's more pages than it really is. I don't know what's the difference between that, but this book says 605 pages. I got literally 415. I only had like about 200 pages left. I just couldn't do it. This one was a lot better though. There's more found family. Johnny and Shannon are finally like, the communication is good. I loved their best friends. It's just, I don't know what it was about it that I didn't want to continue. Like I didn't care. I didn't have a care to, but I will say I posted on Goodreads that I was DNFing this, and someone commented, "None of us want you to finish anyways. A co-host Stan will never understand the complexity of this masterpiece of a duet." And not to out them, but this has been bothering me all month because I do have 3 books this this month, and it's just like I felt like I'm not enjoying it. There's no point. I can go back to it if I want to. But that just like shook me that people care so much about how other people feel about a book. I saw something else this month, and it was just like they were kind of talking about books that things are wrong with them and how it has all these topics that are just so wrong, and basically kind of like shaming people for liking those books. And it made me like so upset. I was like, you're gonna now have so many people feel bad about talking about a book because you think there's so much wrong with it, and everyone's just like slamming people for liking authors and books, and it made me so upset that someone even commented that I can't understand the complexity of this duet. Like, it just wasn't for me. I don't know, we all have different opinions, we all have different likes in books, and it just blew my mind. I DNF'd this. If you enjoyed this book, gave it 5 stars, like, all for you, good for you, I'm happy. I can't with the negativity about people's opinions on books. It just makes me so sad. People feel the need to shame others in what they like. It blows my mind because it happens like every time I'm on social media. It's a book, it's not life or death, so just be nice. After I DNF'd that, I read Booked on a Feeling by J.C. Lee. I gave this 3 stars. It's kind of like a childhood friends to lovers. They've been best friends for years, but she lives in LA now. She's a lawyer, and then he still lives at home back where they grew up, and he kind of just works at his family's like business at their restaurant. She needs time off from being a lawyer, so she goes back for a few weeks, and both have like this weird switch where they're like, are we attracted to each other? I kind of like him. He says he kind of likes her. The beginning was a little bit boring because it goes right into like her lawyer stuff, and I don't know. I didn't really feel like I need to see all that. I don't know. But it was cute because as she's back in the small hometown, lives above a bookstore, and then they work together to kind of fix up the bookstore. So that aspect was really, really cute. Their chemistry was kind of off for me, I won't lie. I just feel like I got the ick sometimes. I don't know. But it wasn't bad. It was really sweet. It was wholesome. I really liked the ending of it. It was really, really cute. Just didn't really hit like I thought it would. All the Boys I Loved Before by Jenny Han. Never read this book, watched the movies, got this in the blind dates video, and I was really happy because I was in a slump. YA books are such quick reads, so I was very excited about this. I think I gave it 4 stars. It was very fun. I mean, I knew the essence of the story, but seeing it from how I watched in the movie and what happened in the movie to what it was in the book felt like it was refreshing. I said that this book in my blind dates video was really nostalgic to read. I don't know. It's the same way I felt about The Summer I Turned Pretty. If you don't know what this is, it's basically about this girl, Lara Jean, who when she was younger wrote letters to all the boys she's loved, and she kept them in a little box, and one day they're sent out to all of the boys. One happens to be her sister's ex-boyfriend, and one happens to be some guy in school she used to be friends with, so they end up fake dating to prove to her sister's ex-boyfriend that she doesn't like him anymore. It's really fun. It's really cute. I don't know if I'm gonna read the rest of the series. Maybe one day. I enjoyed this. Then I read Graceling by Kristen Cashore. This is a YA fantasy. I think I gave this 3 stars. It was written a while ago. I got this in the blind dates video, so I didn't know anything about it. Basically about this world where there's different kingdoms, and there's people who are graced, so they're called gracelings. They're just skilled in something. So the main character is graced, and she is skilled in like fighting, combat, killing. So her uncle is the king, and he kind of uses her to go to different kingdoms and use her grace to show people or whoever wronged him that they wronged him and they owe him stuff. So she kind of does that, but she has a sympathy to not do it because she knows it's wrong, and he's making her do these things and kill these people for no reason really. So she has this like low-key mission with other people to help people. One of them is to save this guy who was kidnapped for no reason. So she does that. She saves him. The guy that was kidnapped is this guy who's now introduced. It's that guy's grandson, and he's trying to figure out who kidnapped him. They work together to figure out why they stole him, what was the reasoning, and they kind of go on this journey together. Some parts are really interesting, like the mystery of what happened to the guy who stole him, the different kingdoms, the grace, but the journey they take on is kind of stretched out. It's a lot of walking in the woods and survival. But it was really good. There's a little romance in here, like really small. It's kind of sudden, but it was cute. I'm pretty sure this is a series as well, but it wasn't bad. It's just like it wasn't my favorite. Then I read How to Love Your Neighbor by Sophie Sullivan. I had not low expectations, but I wasn't expecting to love it as much as I did. I gave this 4 stars. It's basically about this girl whose grandmother leaves her a beach house, and next door to it is this guy who's a real estate agent. He's grumpy and he just wants to buy the beach house next door, but she's an interior designer. She wants to redo the place, so he gives her a deal that he'll buy it. He'll give her a lot of money. She doesn't have a lot of money, so you would think that she would say okay, but she is determined to fix up this house, and she wants to live there with her grandmother's house. She's decorating all this stuff, and he's trying to buy it. The fight that they do and the grumpy thing, it was really fun. I usually don't love an enemies to lovers, but this one was really good. It felt really realistic. I really love these characters, but the fighting doesn't last for so long, which is good. It's not like a huge slow burn. They end up like working together, and it's kind of this whole like HGTV low-key renovation thing, which was really fun. What I really liked is there was no like miscommunication breakup at the end, you know, like the 3rd act breakup. None of that. It was all kind of like realistic. It made sense as it was going on, and I really liked this one. It's also the second in the little series. The first one's about his brother, and I think the 3rd one after this is about his other brother. I haven't read those. I didn't know this was the second because it was the blind dates video, but really enjoyed it. Then I read Forever Never by Lucy Score. I gave this one one 4 stars. I love Lucy Score so much, but this one, I don't know, some parts were just a little bit, I wouldn't say weird, I don't know, but it's basically about this girl who left her hometown of Mackinac Island, which is this really small island, and this takes place in the winter time, so it's snow everywhere. There's no cars. They take horses or little like snowmobiles. Really fun setting. But something happened while she was away, and she comes back, and there's a little mystery element. This guy Brick, who she grew up with, family, friends, her parents love him. They used to have a thing back in the day. She comes back, and no one knows what happened, why she suddenly came back. She has a broken arm, like whole mystery thing that eventually you follow along. But her mom is Brick's boss. She is her brother's ex-girlfriend. She is Brick's ex-wife's best friend. Like this whole thing is very complicated. You get them kind of rekindling, him trying to figure out what happened to her, wanting to protect her, and then you get the mystery. She gets threats. Like it's a whole thing. So you get the romance, you get the mystery. I love how Lucy Score gives different plots. This one though is a little odd how they not met, but how they connected when they were younger, because she was a little young, he was older than her. But pushing that aside, it was really good. It's very spicy. Some of the spicy scenes were a little dragged out for me, which I never really say, but I don't know, it was just like so much of it at points where I feel like it didn't need to happen. I don't know. Other than that, it was really good. It was really entertaining. I love her writing. It's just like it keeps me on my toes. Yeah. 4 stars. Then I read Never Lie by Freida McFadden. This is where my Freida McFadden binge starts. I think I read 3 of her books this month. Her writing is so, I don't know, I can read it in a day. This one I gave 4.5 stars. It's about this couple who's looking for a new house. They are like kind of newlyweds, and they are going to see this house, but it's a snowstorm, so they go inside and they're kind of stuck there because their car is snowed in. It's bad. They can't get back out. The house used to be this psychiatrist's house, but she passed away, and that's the house they're looking at. And as they're staying there, everything is just suspicious. And then the main character, she finds the secret passage, and it has all of the tape recordings of the psychiatrist's old patients. So you get that point of view of the psychiatrist, like that timeline point of view, psychiatrist, their patients, their story that she listens to, but she doesn't tell her husband, and he's really sus, she's really sus, and it's really interesting. It's really quick too. The ending, so many plot twists, and I was gasping literally out loud. She got me so good at all of them, not even just 1, 2, all of them. Highly recommend. I haven't read any of Freida McFadden's books. I haven't read all of them. I'm on my way to, but her writing, if you've read Alice Feeney, who I rave about, it's so similar. It's so good. She gets right into the story, and you are suspecting everything and everyone, and she still gets you. I loved it so much. Okay, right after that, I actually read another Freida McFadden book, which was The Inmate. They're all Kindle Unlimited as well. This one is about a woman who has a son, and she gets a job as a nurse practitioner in a prison. But one of the inmates in the prison is her old boyfriend from, I think it's high school. He's in jail because she put him there. So you kind of go through the timeline of them back in the day, what happened, how he got in jail, and her trying to relive that night a little bit, because seeing him again, she kind of thinks about it and trying to figure out if something went wrong. Like, really interesting. This one I gave 4 stars. The end was a little out of pocket for me. Again, more than one plot twist, which was really fun. Really fun to go along with this one as well and try to figure out like who did it, what's happening. But it was fun to read, and I read it again really quick. I think I read this in one night. The one thing though is that the main character girl, like all the signs were in front of her face for a few of them, and she just like dismissed them all, so that annoyed me. But other than that, it was really good. Okay, then I read Brightside by Kim Holden. I went into this blind. I've heard people have cried to it. I sobbed like a baby. I had no idea what this was really about. I gave this 4 stars. Kate moves from San Diego to across the country for school, but she leaves behind her best friend Gus, who is just like, they are childhood best friends. They do everything together. They are so close. They have like this connection. So she's in her new school. She's like FaceTiming him, no, Skyping him every day. She makes new friends. She meets a love interest, and it's like all of this. And I thought going into it that Gus was the love interest, but on the back it literally says that it's not, and I didn't read the back, so I thought that that was a surprise. But I didn't understand where the story was going, because it's literally just about her talking and catching up with Gus, her with her new friends, creating friendships and meeting a love interest, and it was nothing really crazy was going on. I was like, where is this gonna go? Then little hints and little scenes are thrown in that I was like, why is the author putting this in here? So I caught on to what was happening, and then the last like 100 pages, tears, just straight up tears. So I gave it 4 stars because the beginning, like I said, I didn't know what was going on. I was like, I'm getting bored now, like I don't understand where this is going. Then it hits you. So then I read Magnolia Parks. I put this off for so long. I will say that my friend Ellie has annotated it for me, and then I bought my own copy because I needed to annotate it myself. Like, that's how beautiful the writing is. I don't want to talk about this too much, but I gave this 5 stars. It's not for everyone. I'm gonna state that now. I understand if you gave it 2 stars, it's just, you're either or. I had to get my own to annotate it, and as I was annotating and reading a few chapters, I would go to Ellie's annotations. It's like I saw her opinions, and it was just the best experience. I went into this blind. I had no idea what this was about. I got the gist of it from before, hardcore London gossip girl, found family, rich kids, toxic. Like that's all I got. I think I'm just a sucker for toxic in books and drama in books. I eat it up. And if you don't like toxic, absolutely do not read this. It is just the whole way through, back and forth circles. It can get very repetitive, but I loved it. Magnolia and BJ, they used to date, and then something happened where BJ messed up and now Magnolia can't trust him, but they have this like connection I've never read in a book before. Like it is this connection that is just like so out of this world, but they are so connected to each other where she can't trust him, but they keep going back to each other. They can't leave each other alone, so she'll date other guys just to put up a wall so that they can't be together because she can't trust him, and then he'll be with other girls because he's like so in love with Magnolia that he like, I don't know, it's so not right, but then their connection is just like, I can't deal. So not okay what they're doing to each other. I don't agree with it. I think they're both not in the right, they're totally in the wrong, and just what they do to each other is absolutely horrible. Don't agree with that, don't love their characters, but I love this book. The way that she writes is so like lyrical sometimes, and some of the quotes in here, I underlined almost every single page. I am not even joking. The quotes in here are just, I couldn't get enough. That's pretty much the gist of it. I was obsessed, but again, it goes in circles. It's completely toxic. It's not for everyone, but it was for me. Absolutely obsessed. I also think I just love a romance that's kind of just like deeper than just a regular rom-com or regular romance. I like when there's something like deeper things going on. I don't know. And this is what it did for me. I loved it so much. It made me feel a lot. And I've been thinking about it every day. I go back through those quotes and some of the scenes in there like frequently. But right after that, I went right into Daisy Hates. And these covers, I can't deal with these covers. They're so beautiful. This is basically about the friend group in Magnolia Parks. One character from that friend group and then another character. Their kind of like relationship and upbringing. You get snippets of them in Magnolia Parks, and then you also get the point of view of Daisy's brother Julian. So there's 3 point of views in here. And Christian and Daisy were kind of like friends with benefits, but then feelings came up, but then they love other people, and it's like this whole tangled mess, and they can't really figure it out. They don't want to love each other because it's just like a mess. And then Julian, his point of view, the brother, he is like a mob guy in the UK, which was really fun, really interesting to read because I've never really read a mob book, mafia book, nothing like that. So yeah, that was fun, and you kind of get his background and Daisy's background while they were younger, what happened to them, and their relationship is really interesting. So I really enjoyed this. I gave this 4 stars though because I didn't have the drama as Magnolia Parks. It wasn't as deep as Magnolia Parks, but there is another Daisy Hates book, so hoping it gets a little bit, not better because this was good, but a little more. The last book I've read was One by One by Frida McFadden. I finished this yesterday. I think that almost all of these books I've buddy read with people in the book club on our Discord, and this one, like 5 of us read at the same time, but they all finished it before me, and then I was kind of trying to truck through it. I don't know what it was about it, but I gave it 3 stars. It was easy writing. It gets right into the story just like Frida always does. 3 couples go on this little getaway to an inn in like the middle of nowhere, but each couple kind of has their issues, and the main couple, they kind of hate each other. They haven't really been okay in a while, so they're hoping that this either helps their relationship or their marriage or officially ends it. But they go, and then their car breaks down, and it's like a huge hike to get there, and then they're stuck in the middle of the woods for a few days, and then like one by one a few people die / go missing, and you don't know what's happening. I was getting kind of fed up with them walking around the woods because they had a map and they were like, okay, the inn is a mile away, yet they're walking for 2 days and nothing's making sense. And that's like the fun part, the mystery you're trying to figure out. But I was just like, find something. I was like, this woods thing is like not, I don't know. And then there were like 2 things in the plot twist that I was like, it didn't really like make sense to me, but it was good nonetheless. If you want to read this book, it definitely gives what all of her books give. It's fast-paced and entertaining. Just for me, it slowed down a bit and I was just like kind of over it by the end, but yeah, it was still good. Now into my February TBR. I kind of tried to pick books that I'm actually gonna read this month and like didn't make it too big and too overachieving. Is that the word? First book is The Do-Over by Lynn Painter. This is our book for the book club. Today is February 1st, so we are starting it this week. Also, happy birthday, Harry Styles. Just gonna need to put that out there. It's about this girl who wakes up Valentine's Day over and over again. That's the only thing I really know about this. I think really excited to read this. We're in the month of February, so it just makes sense. And then speaking of February, I have X's and O's by Amy Leah. I'm so excited for this. I talked about this in many videos. I haven't read it yet, but I have brought it up. It's basically about this girl who's a bookstagrammer, and she is rekindling her relationships with all of her exes because she wants a second chance romance. And then this guy Trevor, who is a Boston firefighter, doesn't want anything to do with love, but ends up helping her with this. And then I have Kingdom of the Fury by Kerri Maniscalco. This is the last book in the Kingdom of the Wicked little trilogy. I'm trying to finish some series this year, so I think I want to try this one. I really enjoyed the first and second. The second ended on like a little cliffhanger, so I feel like I need to read this soon before I forget everything that happened in the first two. This is about, I guess the first one I'll say, is about this witch whose sister is murdered, and she's kind of on this like journey to figure out what happened to her. It's her twin sister, but then she summons one of the wicked from the underworld basically, and his name is Wrath. He's part of the House of Wrath down there, and he has brothers, his House of Pride, Envy, all of the sins, and he's summoned by her, and they are now on this journey together to figure out what happened to her sister. And then I really want to read Magnolia Parks, The Long Way Home. This is the second Magnolia Parks book, but the third in the series. I need to read this soon. I hate to say it, I miss them. I miss the writing, I miss the quotes, I miss the drama, so this should be good. I heard that this one will tear me up, and you know what? I want to feel something, so I'm excited, even though it shouldn't be. The Perfect Marriage by Geneva Rose. I'm actually in the middle of this, but this is about a woman, Sarah, who's a defense attorney, and then her husband, Adam, is accused of killing his mistress in their lake house. So now he's on trial. She's his defense attorney. It's about to get crazy. I'm in the middle of it because he is accused of doing it because he was the last one seen with her. Those are all the books on my TBR. I'm probably gonna read the second Daisy Hates book, which is over there, which is the last of the series. I think there's a new one coming out over the summer, which I'm excited for, but those are all the books I read. That's all of the books on my TBR for the month. Let me know if you've read any. That's really all I got. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Let me know if you did. And yeah, I will see you hopefully in the next one. Bye!